Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Super excited today, talking to another tech person, and he is the CTO, fractional CTO, I guess, and technical advisor for Summit Labs. What they do is they help companies build better software. So I'm excited to be talking to Brian Childress today. And so, Brian, you ready to rock?
Let's do it.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim.
No problem. So we always start off here in a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business that we can be inspired by.
Man, I have spent the last, 10 years or so kind of building up my side hustle, moonlighting and freelancing nights and weekends. And after probably 18 months of really, really focused effort, I was able to leave my W-2 job, go full time into my software consultancy. And I mean, just have been a rocket ever since. Certainly good days and bad days, but really, really excited about what the future holds. This year is going to be really exciting. I've got some really fun projects lined up with some cool companies, and I'm ready to get going.
Nice. Well, tell me about that journey a little bit. So you said you were kind of doing both at the same time, working your job, working your business at the same time.
Yeah, I really leveraged kind of having a freelancing or a moonlighting business for many years as a way for me to really kind of hone my craft, to really learn more about technology.
Mhm.
It's an ever evolving, quickly changing industry, and I wanted to make sure that I was staying up to date with how things were evolving, where companies were going, how technologies were being used. And so I kind of used having, a full-time job to learn part of it, and then use the business, the freelancing work to learn the other part. So I like to think that I really accelerated my career just because I was putting in those extra hours.
Yeah, for sure. And it can be quite a few extra hours too, right? I'm wondering like how did that work with the clients, in your business and also your main job? Like, did they sort of know about each other and like how did that work out?
They did to some degree, right? I always made sure that, I was well within contractual bounds for my job, that I could do freelancing and moonlighting work. A lot of the times, the industries that I was working in were just different. And so it wasn't, any sort of conflict of interest as far as that goes. And, I leveraged nights and weekends and early mornings and, worked, time zones, right? I worked with a lot of companies that were just in completely different time zones, and that allowed me to kind of fit my schedule in the meetings that I needed to schedule in a way that kind of worked for everything. It was certainly has been a balancing act for many years. I'm kind of constantly context switching, for good or bad. But yeah, it's been a really fun journey to get to this point.
Nice. Yeah, the time zone situation is pretty awesome, really, especially nowadays where you've got a computer, you can sit in front of a Zoom call and be doing a call with somebody who's like right in the middle of their workday while it's like midnight for you, right? Like it's
Yeah,
pretty sweet, right?
absolutely.
So now, along with the good note, sometimes there are things that don't go as planned, there's some bad notes that get hit. I'm wondering, can you share with me something that didn't go as planned? Like what's the biggest thing that kind of like got you down and how did you recover from it?
I'll give a recent example. I mean, there's certainly a laundry list of learnings and whatnot over the course of my career, but I'll give a recent note. So when I dove into this idea of being a fractional CTO and wanting to help a lot of companies really build better software, I thought I landed on like just the perfect client, right? We hit it off great right out of the gate. Things were going really well. I was really excited about the work that we were doing. I flew out to meet them and other members of the team. You know, Everything looked good. And we started to get into the engagement. And by the end of probably the third or fourth week of the engagement, I knew it wasn't going to work. We were just completely misaligned. Our goals, were just not the same.
Mm.
And ultimately, Tim, I had to kind of fire that client and pay back the, five-figure deposit that I had received. So right out of the gate, kind of jumping into this, I had to turn around and return a bunch of money and lost time and travel, and really, is taking a step back, kind of looked right past all those red flags that were just glaring, and, was so excited about the opportunity that I missed what was right in front of me.
So many things to take out of there. Number one is that 5-figure deposit is a big deal. Like, I mean, I'm sure, in the context of everything, you probably didn't spend a 5 figures worth of time, that you were, refunding, but that's a big number there, right? I'm sure that it probably, when people are thinking about refunding, they're probably thinking about refunding a much smaller number. So that probably did hit your like mindset quite a bit, right?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And then but then the more important thing though is that like kudos for you for realizing that because that ends up being a bad note on this show quite often. And it's actually your I think the second one that I can remember that actually refunded it like quickly, like fairly quickly. Most people actually go through with it and it ends up losing them money in the long run, right? Even though they got paid that initial thing. So, that's I think something to keep in mind for anybody. I mean, you're probably not going to be refunding a 5-figure deposit depending on what your business is. But listen to Brian, he did it, better in the long run, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly hurt. It ended up costing me an additional few $1,000s because I paid for a bunch of travel and all of those sorts of things. But in the end, it was the right decision, right? I felt much better about it. I think the client felt better about it. It was just we were able to split, and at the end of the day, it cost us the time that we put in. So a
Yeah.
lot of lessons learned there for sure.
And then the other part that I want to take out of that is that you mentioned the red flags and that keeps coming up, gut feelings, red flags. It seems like we always know, pretty early on in the engagement that it's not going to work out. But I'm wondering like what is your process now? Like let's just say you're engaging with a new client and what would be one of those red flags that would pop up? And then once it pops up, what do you do next?
So, I mean, some of the red flags that really popped out to me were I wasn't getting a timely response from the client early on. There were a lot of like either really, really late to meetings or missed meetings where it was a complete kind of no call, no show scenario. And, I was like, oh, well, just a busy entrepreneur that's doing a lot of things and kind of gave a lot of grace there
Mhm.
and really just the communication wasn't there. So even if someone wasn't going to show up for the meeting, hey, letting me know, just really being overly communicative, that was a huge red flag that I just kind of, tried to, stuff away and ignore. And looking back, that was the thing that ultimately really cost the engagement was we just weren't able to communicate. And it wasn't just in those small instances, it was really across the board. So it really amplified it.
Wow, wow, yeah. And it's funny how you can kind of take this red flag and turn it into like this green flag. Like, wow, I'm working with somebody who's super busy and and you can turn that right around. But I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, if you're going to get some work done for somebody, you need to be able to have them actually show up and be committed to getting the work done that you need to get done, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Okay, cool. So now let's talk a little bit. You mentioned about honing your craft a little bit earlier, and I talk about practicing, all the time. And I'm wondering, what is it that you do to stay up on, your industries, and you're in software. Holy, I mean, that's changing really rapidly. So how do you stay up on it?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The industry, it both evolves super quickly, right? Every month or two, we're seeing brand new, huge, tectonic shifts in the industry.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, having been in the industry for many, many years, you start to see the circle kind of come around. It's very cyclical. The ways that we were solving things 15 years ago are the same way that we're trying to resolve them again today. But for me, really, I had to find the ways that I learn best. And for me, that was, I discovered podcasts really early on and just, I'm a very auditory learner. And so I just gravitated to podcasts and listening at 2 and 3x speed. Audiobooks are another way that I like to stay up to date. I listen to like a lot of conference talks, right, that are recorded and put out on YouTube. So thankfully, the tech industry is very forthcoming with a lot of information. We do a lot of sharing as a community, and I try and take full advantage of that. I also try and give back to that community. And then, just like learning an instrument and really kind of crafting that, I have to be hands-on. I have to continue to build software. So I still have to play with the tools and the technologies. Now, I'm not doing it as much day to day in the work that I do, but I still have to stay up to date on those things so that I can really make sure that, the teams that I'm working with and the companies that I'm working with are driving in the right direction.
Right on. Yeah, I love the 2x speeds. Like that's so cool nowadays that you can like listen to things and just speed her right up. Because I mean, a lot of times, when you're speaking regularly, it's just, you're speaking at a regular rate, but when you 2x it, you can still catch all the same stuff and finish your books way faster. It's great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the jam room. So now you've been actually you've gone through a few different transitions. Like one of the things I want to know is, did your jam room look different when you were moonlighting as it does now?
No, really, the way I kind of separated things was I had a different, computer or multiple computers that separated between my work, my 9 to 5 type of work and my freelancing work. And I always keep everything very, very separate. And for me, a lot of times it's, not only just to keep things separate, but, certain computers have certain access to different systems
Yeah.
and those, permissions and that sort of thing. But no, I really try and keep things separate, both physically on different computers and different, accounts. And then, just mentally keeping things separate as far as like the time blocks that I have, trying to reduce the overlap and between the two different areas as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And nowadays you can have some really cool different profiles too that you can set up on your, just if you only have the one computer, you could even set up different, Chrome profiles, for example, that have
Mhm.
all different tools in it, right? And different logins and access, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I've got, 4 or 5 active at any one time because I'm being added to and
Hmm.
removed from certain companies, as our engagements evolve.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I absolutely leverage that. And, everything is color coded. So I know which color Chrome window to go to for which company. And yeah, it's a fun juggling act for sure.
Yeah, and also keeping them separate probably makes it a little bit easier for your time tracking as well, which I don't know if you do, if you track your time with different clients, but I mean that's something that if you've got like two clients going at the same time, who do you bill it to, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely a way that I can do it. I don't do a ton of hourly based billing, but no, it certainly has helped in the past when I did a lot more of that.
Hi, it's Mark Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches, and I want to give two very big thumbs up to Tim Melanson and his Creative Crew agency. I have been using them for a long time, and I am 100% happy. They get the job done right, they're fast, and they let me focus on my business. I don't have to worry about anything. So again, I want to give them two very big thumbs up. I have no problem recommending them. I don't give testimonials for everyone because my name is attached to it, but I gladly do so for Tim and the Creative Crew Agency. So use them, you won't regret it, and good luck.
Now, what other things do you think are important in your home office that, make you stay productive?
For me, I really focused on trying to make it comfortable. So I've got a nice standing desk here, a comfy chair. The lighting is just the way that I like it. I've got, noise canceling headphones. One of the big changes for me when we moved into this house was I've got a door. Like I can close the door. I can, completely shut out the world as far as that goes. Both, being in here and then also being out there and kind of blocking, work in the office and all of that away as well, I found to be hugely helpful in creating that, that really like great work environment.
Hmm. Yeah, for the first 10 years of my self-employed life, I was working at a kitchen table pretty much. It was great once I got an office with an actual door that I could close, and the world changed for me for sure. But I mean, not everybody's in a situation where their house, affords them the ability to have the door. So what did you do before you got your office?
I was in the corner of a guest room. I was in, the corner of a very tiny apartment that we were renting, and we had, very little privacy, and it was just the world's most tiniest desk and the world's most uncomfortable chair. and I'm propping things up on books and, random things that I can find, just to kind of make it by. And I'm fortunate with a lot of the work that I do because the tools are available on my phone or my iPad or something like that. I can grab that and just kind of go and do my work anywhere. So, I mean, I've been on the top of a ski lift before and, accessing servers and doing crazy things there, or on vacation in, Bali and, halfway around the world and communicating with teams and doing, a lot of the work that I do. So, really kind of focused on making sure that I have access to the systems that I need to have access to and when, so that I can be available, but that also creates, other challenges with setting the right boundaries. So
Yeah. Yeah. Boundaries is a tough one for sure. And, for I would say probably most entrepreneurs, we're a bit of workaholics. So, it's one of those things, especially if you're in a relationship, you'll hear about it for sure. Because, if your work is right there on your phone and you're sitting there trying to, spend some time with your partner, well, boy, that's difficult, isn't it?
yeah, you get I've been yelled at quite a few times, or, gently nudged in the right direction.
Yeah. Do you need to be working right now? I don't need to be working. No, you're right.
So. Yeah, my wife is really good about calling me out now about it. And, I ask her to all the time, like, keep me straight, because otherwise, yeah, you start to drift into you know, the bad zone. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I mean, isn't it such a great situation where you really can work from a phone or a laptop anywhere you want? So you don't have to worry about not taking vacations or anything like that. You can actually go and do the things that you want to do and still be, connected to your work as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I really made a concerted effort to make sure that that was possible. I put the systems in place and the tools in place to be able to do that. It's just now on me to make sure that I separate myself from, doing that work, like you say,
Yeah.
having that good balance.
So what would you say? I mean, you're working in a company now you're working on your own business. What would you say are some of the biggest differences between having the job versus having the business?
I think when we have a job, we've got a bit more of, structure and predictability in the work that we're doing. And then when we're out on our own, I mean, I've got a wide open calendar, and that can be amazing or a huge detriment to my productivity. So for me, before I left my job, I really made a focus on how can I schedule myself so that I can be productive, I can still produce, and not just allow my wide open calendar to get the better of me, and I'm not producing results for my clients or to continue to grow my business. And so, I think it's so important to just have good kind of processes and systems in place to kind of prevent yourself from yourself. Just knowing the way that, yeah, I'm sitting at home, I can, turn on the TV and completely veg out for the day, but is that the thing that's going to really drive me forward? And we can do the same thing with a job, and working from home, but when it's up to us to make sure that the money is coming in, it's even more important, I think.
Yeah, the consequences are somewhat different, right? I mean, you've got a boss that's going to be, kind of breathing down your neck when you have the job, but when you don't have the job, you don't have anybody breathing down your neck. It's a different type of stress. And
Yeah.
it might even be something that comes a little bit later too. Like, if you do nothing, for a couple days, I'm sure that you're going to hear about it from your boss. But if you do nothing for a couple of days in a business, you may not actually start to suffer any of those consequences until, your next mortgage is due or whatever happens down the line, right? You might be able to get away with it for a lot longer without having somebody keeping you accountable, right?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
So now the next question that kind of leads into the next thing. So learning from the best, and I'm wondering, where did you learn how to do this? Like, is this something that you just knew how to do? Like, did you have some, businesses in the family? Did you go out there and hire people? What did you do?
kind of all of the above, but it was a lot on me to go out and learn a lot of these things, right? It wasn't, I very much was kind of, under the understanding that, yeah, you go and get a good job and, you're
Mhm.
happy with your 40 hours a week and, you get your gold watch at the end kind of deal. I mean, I knew pretty early on that that model wasn't for me. And so I spent a lot of time in, entrepreneurial groups and listening to those types of podcasts. But one thing that really shifted for me in the last couple of years was I, took the advice of let's invest in myself. And so for me, that looked like going out and hiring what ended up being a couple different professional coaches. So these guys helped me to focus on mindset. They helped me to focus on goals and vision and a lot of those types of things, and really kind of brought a lot of the muddy cloudiness that I had in my head into better clarity that then I could take action upon. So, I spent quite a bit of money hiring folks that really did help kind of unlock a lot of that for me. So, and even today, I've got coaches, I'm in masterminds, I'm with, groups of people that are, where I want to be in the future in the next few years. And I'm really kind of trying to learn as much as I can from them, and I'm still consuming tons of podcasts and audiobooks as a way to get access to that type of information.
I love that. I love that. So now, what did you do? How did you find them? What was your process in finding the right kind of like mentors and coaches?
So the first thing I needed to do was figure out that that's what I was looking for was a
Mhm.
coach. And I think when I started looking, at least it didn't feel like that was a thing that everybody, now it feels like everybody calls themselves a coach and you kind of have to filter through the noise. And so I think I was lucky that when I started searching, it wasn't as noisy out there. But I started looking on LinkedIn. That just happened to be where I kind of was most active and looking around and just, looked to see who was putting out content that really resonated with me. And then ultimately reached out to them and said, hey, can we schedule some time to chat? And, I talked to a few different folks. And the thing that, really I used as a gauge to say, yes, this is the person that I want to, start working with. Because a lot of these engagements are at least 6 months long. Was if they could really touch an emotional nerve, like, yes, in the period of a 30-minute phone call or an hour phone call, like they really touched on that nerve. Like, okay, this person is able to start to help me unlock whatever it is that I'm looking for.
Wow, love it. Yeah, and that seems to be a pretty good strategy that a lot of really good coaches are employing, right? Is putting out that content regularly, that's free to access, that will give you an opportunity to get to know a little bit about their style and who they are, and make you feel a little bit more confident that they actually know what they're talking about. Because, like you say, there's tons of people that say that they're coaches, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get you where you want to go, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Right on. So it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
Man, I'm really excited about a couple projects that I've got coming up. So I'm working with some big companies that are doing some really really cool stuff. A lot of stuff in the cybersecurity space, in integrating AI, a lot in big data. Really working in a lot in like finance and fintech. So some really fun, challenging problems to solve. For me, I focus on making software scalable, and I also focus on making it simple. So really trying to, be able to grow and scale the team in a simple way. Those are areas that I'm focused on a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, this year has, I thought last year was busy. I think this year is going to be even busier, but in a very exciting way. So yeah, can't
Yeah.
wait to see how things kind of flush out.
Yeah, I think now, especially with AI coming pretty full steam, it's changing a lot of things. It's making a lot of people, kind of embrace it and embrace new technologies and embrace new software. So, I think this is going to be a good year for you, in your field because yeah, there's going to be a lot of people trying to figure out how to make it work for their business, right? Because that can be challenging is to, you got this software program that's out there, but you've got to figure out how it's going to work in your business, right?
Absolutely. And it's going to be different for every single business,
Mhm.
not just the industry, but every single business. What access to data do they have, and how do they want to leverage something that's that powerful?
Right. So now, what would be the like ideal client that would get the most out of working with you?
So most of the folks that I work with are typically companies that have a B2B software that's already out in the market, right? So they've already kind of gone through and done an MVP or a proof of concept application, and they are either having challenges with their software, right? Performance or stability or data integrity type of issues, or they're looking to scale. And those two scenarios are ones that I deal with a lot, and I get to work with a number of different companies across a number of different industries to
Mhm.
help solve some of those challenges.
Right on. Okay, cool. Yeah. And so when you are like trying to set up a relationship with a new company, what is the process that they go through to figure out if you guys are a fit?
Yeah, kind of similar to how I was interviewing coaches back in the day. So the first thing that I do, and I offer this to anyone, is just a no obligation 1 hour free tech consultation. So let's figure out what challenges do you have. And, a lot of times I can give actionable advice in that call that changes the trajectory of that business. And that's all that they needed. Just someone to kind of either validate what they were thinking or give them a new perspective. And then, if we find out that that group is looking for a little bit more, I've got a couple different kind of levels of offer that I have available. So everything from, a tech advisory that we can do ad hoc. So again, just another kind of phone call to, me being hands-on with the team to, some amount of hours each week.
Right on. Okay, cool. So then how do we find out more?
I'm most active still on LinkedIn, so I encourage everyone to kind of reach out and connect with me there. Send me a DM. I'm happy to chat.
Awesome. And so that's Brian. So you want to, what do we look for on LinkedIn? Is there a business or is it under your personal name?
Under my personal name is where I'm
Personal.
most active. So Brian Childress is what should come up. I'm pretty active on there every day.
Awesome. Right on. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with me today, Brian. This has been a lot of fun.
Tim, man, I really appreciate it.
No problem. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.